Welcome to Let's Talk About Emotions. I'm so delighted to have you here with me today. My name is Anton Texter. I'm a licensed dynamic emotional integration trainer and consultant, and I teach the Befriending series of courses at Empathy Academy. To my left, you're right, I don't know what this is on Zoom. I have Sue Barclay. She is also a licensed dynamic emotional integration trainer based in the UK, and she leads art workshops to teach DEI concepts. On my diagonal is Heather Guyson. She's an acupuncturist and licensed DEI trainer based in Victoria, BC. And then below me, I have Sarah Alexander, who's an LCSW based in Portland, Oregon, who's also a DEI trainer and consultant. So welcome. I'm so delighted to have all of you here. Today, we are talking about self-hatred. Oh, what a juicy topic. Self-hatred and
a light topic.
So let's just dive in with what are the emotions behind self-hatred and self-sabotage? What comes up?
As a therapist who works with folks who have eating disorders, I hear about this one a lot. And people say that they hate themselves, they hate their bodies. And what I was struck by is how in DEI we use, at least when I learned the concept of hate in DEI, it was always out there, like we were projecting something from in here out there, seeing ourselves reflected, something we cut off, and then that we had to reintegrate. But these folks were saying, I hate me, I hate, it's pointing in this direction. And because it's pointing in this direction, my DEI antenna picked up that shame is at least in the mix, right? And so I came to start asking how might the two together, shame and hate, how might shame help us do the work of hate, and how might hate help us do the work of shame? So it's been a very rich, ongoing evolution of that work. And I think of shame as a loyal assistant.
Absolutely.
That's how I conceptualize it for clients to help make it more accessible, because shame tends to be a really heady concept for a lot of folks. Like how do I talk about shame? What is my shame? How am I supposed to work with my shame? When I put it in the context of a loyal assistant and map out how it's actually helping us stay accountable to the jobs we gave it, and it's so loyal it will take us to our graves if that's the job we gave it, like with eating disorders, then they can begin to personify it a little easier. And so I have combined hate and shame to form the word shate, which people always giggle at. So right there is probably a clinical intervention right there to add some levity to the very heavy situation they're experiencing. But so the shate concept, how might the loyal assistant component of shame help us navigate the shadows that hate is pointing us to? And I've had clients come up with interesting figures for their shate, for their loyal assistant, to help them on this journey. Aslan came up as for one client, Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings for another client. I'm personally like Bailey from Grey's Anatomy. I think she's very loyal and fierce in her getting her job done and making sure things are done right. So that's how I begin the journey with folks.
Wow, that's totally not what I was expecting.
Ah.
In a way, I wasn't thinking about the way that shame could help us work with hatred, because I guess I'm thinking about this in terms of your shame is, in a sense, causing your self-hatred because those contracts behind your shame, those ideas and those beliefs that are driving your shame are untenable. They're unrealistic. Right. They're expecting you to adhere to this impossible standard of beauty or intelligence or productivity or flexibility or strength or whatever it is.
Right.
And it is physically impossible. It's humanly impossible to do these things. So you're never going to get that boulder up to the top of the hill.
Right.
And so it kind of just implodes onto yourself. So I'm curious about how your shame can help you work with the hatred, because from my opinion, you're going to have to work with your shame. You're going to have to look at these contracts and say, this is not working.
Right.
Something has to go. And sometimes it might even be the suicidal urge that's coming up and saying, this has got to go.
Very much.
It's going to be me or this. So I'm choosing this so that I can stay.
Right. So I think in my experience, first forming the loyal assistant concept is key, because otherwise a person, especially a person who's not familiar with DEI and Karla's work, can get lost in that old contract and just so locked into, but this is the truth of who I am. This is the truth of what the world expects from me. And first, if I like put that aside for a moment, put all those existing shoulds aside for a moment, and first ask, when you go inside and look for who represents the most loyal assistant you can imagine, and first evoking that, they get a felt sense of that in their body. It's a figure that's present. And then I name that shame. And then I give them Karla's concepts about what shame actually is. Then we take that figure and have that figure, which is outside themselves. So it already is kind of like in a ritual, right? It's like a shrine that's put it outside their body. They can look at it. And then we have that shame figure look at that contract and have that shame, like Samwise Gamgee. What would Samwise Gamgee say about this contract you have? Oh, he would say it's nonsense. Yeah, so we cut through so much by first accessing trustworthy shame.
I see.
Yes.
I see. Yes, because you're right. There are two sides to shame, right? It is the loyal assistant. It's that best friend who's telling you the things that you maybe don't want to hear, but are true.
Right.
You know, the one who always tells you the truth.
Right. And I loved the client who brought up Samwise. I have found him a really useful one, because in the stories, which she has read 100 times since she was a kid, Samwise did not like the ring. Samwise did not like Frodo's journey. And yet he was loyal to helping and assisting Frodo on the path, while simultaneously voicing his dissent and saying, no, this isn't right. So he was staying true to Frodo's well-being. At the same time, he was that loyal assistant that showed up and did what Frodo asked.